Aloha kako everyone. I just wanted to give you a quick review on the Adidas 4D FWD shoe from a clinical standpoint as a physical therapist. So I'm actually in my garage standing in front of one of my 3D printers. And so 3D printing has really empowered us for how we take care of our patients. I was actually just working on some custom 3D printed splints for patients, taking off 3D scans. So naturally, I'm a big fan of 3D printing and what it can do for our patients, but how that applies to the Adidas 4D FWD, I'm gonna go over. So typically, this is my typical work in running and just kind of all around shoe. I'm a huge fan of zero drop shoes, meaning that the back of the shoe and the heel and the toe box are the same height. I like really flexible shoes that allow my foot to act like, a natural foot without a shoe on. In Hawaii, of course, we're barefoot most of the time. So very minimalist shoes feel very good and kind of natural for us. So at first, I was a little hesitant to buy this shoe because it's obviously not a zero drop shoe. We have a pretty high stack height in the heel here. What we don't like about that is it tends to promote heel striking when someone runs, landing on the heel, in kind of a longer stride length with a fully extended leg, which of course can return a lot of energy up through the knee, into the spine, sometimes as much as 4 to 5 times body weight with running. So what this midsole is proposed to do, it's 3D printed in a way that when you land, this material here flexes forward. And so the idea is that it gives you energy return rather than feeling like you're landing on a traditional midsole, which Adidas is claiming has a braking effect in terms of slowing a runner down. So I have ran with these shoes on as well as walked with them on. I do feel that effect. You can feel and see the 3D printed midsole here actually collapsing forward. It does give you a little bit of a springy feel, which I like. Who I think this would be a challenge for, we have patients that have some ankle and knee instability. Generally, a high stack height shoe like this with a collapsible midsole, I've seen in the clinic, it seems to kind of destabilize the knee and ankle for some people. Not only this shoe, but other shoes like it. And so when patients ask about footwear selection, generally, if they have instability issues at their knee and ankle, like maybe they've torn ligaments before, or generally just don't have the strength and coordination needed to keep the knee from kind of oscillating, generally I will steer them away from a shoe like this. Joints really don't like what we call shear, which is compression and rotation. So someone with an unstable knee might not do well in that shoe. The Adidas 4D FWD does have a really interesting, really different kind of feel to it. I like it. I don't so much see this as kind of a final product, but as an evolution, as kind of a new test and challenge to what 3D printed materials can do. So for that reason, I'm a fan. I am going to wear these shoes for months to come. I'm curious as to how this midsole is going to hold up with repeated compression and then extension back out of the materials. I have read some people complain that the material on the top of the toe box is ultra thin and that they started to wear through it. From what I can tell, I'd say probably the best idea for avoiding pushing through the top of the shoe is to actually untie the shoe every single time. Make sure that you don't just jam your foot in there. Also, I took Adidas's advice. I ordered a half a size smaller than I normally would. So normally I wear a size 9 shoe. And with this, I wore an 8.5 instead. I did notice when I watched myself on a treadmill, I did tend to heel strike a little bit more in this high stack height shoe than I would in my zero drops. My stride length did look slightly longer. I think I can learn to control both those. Stride length, as well as avoiding heel striking if I just kind of train myself to do so. Naturally I didn't like that I did tend to land more, in a heel strike position. I did have a longer stride length, but I think over time I can learn how to avoid doing that. So yeah, I'll keep everyone updated, but my initial impression in general is pretty cool. Not for patients with instability or balance issues, but for the rest of us, it's definitely a fun shoe to try.